Our friend Miranda Devine joins us now. She's the host of Pod Force One, and she just sat down with our phenomenal Vice President, Mr. JD Vance, to talk about a whole range of things. But first, Miranda, Clay is unfortunately stuck in transit. He was at our boss and mentor's induction into the Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago, and I got a pass because I'm on babysitting duty here for my little one. But he had our proxy there, and he was celebrating, and now he's trying to get home. It is a mess. I think Nashville just said that they basically don't have enough air traffic controllers for the airport to be functioning. Like, what's going to happen?
I mean, it's horrendous. I don't think people have fully grasped how terrible it is. And I have a friend, Newark was shut down last night, and I have a friend who we were doing something last night. She had to fly out of Newark to Palm Beach for her mother's birthday party, and all flights were cancelled. She ended up getting a train to New Haven and then getting one of those cheap flights from there finally to Palm Beach. She got there at 9:30 this morning, so it was, just a 12-hour ordeal. And it sounds like Clay's going through the same thing. I took a flight at Palm Beach on Sunday to interview somebody there. I feel like I know the airlines have to do it to keep things safe, but when you have TSA as well, it's not just the air traffic controllers. I have another friend whose family was coming in from England on the weekend. They ended up having to sit on the plane after that long trip for an hour on the tarmac because the customs hall was full. It ended up taking them 3 hours to get through customs.
Yeah, I bring this up, one, because it's just, I think everyone can commiserate with travel nightmare stories, but also this is in the past something that has actually brought really intense pressure onto government shutdown situations. I mean, do you think this could get the Democrats to snap out of it sooner than anticipated, or do they have some kind of a game plan they're still running?
Well, it ought to. We've had all the leaders of the airlines have come out and said, without saying, well, it's dangerous, just saying this is affecting the economy, this is hurting people. We've got the SNAP benefits ending tomorrow. We have the unions have come out and they have also pressured the Democrats to end this thing, and they just remain implacable because for them, they're losing everything. They don't have anything really to lose, I guess, because they're so they've already lost everything, and they feel like chaos and disruption is a good thing because it hurts the government. It stops the Trump administration from being able to continue on with what they're doing, whether it's deporting illegal migrants or fixing the economy or doing any of the things, unwinding all the other toxic policies of the Biden administration. It just puts a spoke in their wheels, and it also creates anger among their voters who they can, already have Trump derangement and are willing to believe the worst. They just lie and gaslight and tell them, oh, yeah, it's, Donald Trump's fault. And so when the SNAP money runs out tomorrow and the food stamps run out tomorrow, a lot of grocery stores have put security guards around their stores to try and prevent people from coming and just taking the stuff. It's really setting up a really nasty situation, very volatile. And ultimately, even though the polls are moving against the Democrats, I feel like things are coming to a head and that Trump eventually will be blamed. He said today, when he gave a little gaggle, that that he's willing to sit down and negotiate with the Democrats, but they have to open up the country first. They have to end the shutdown. And he said normally they would have, but they're now crazy. And I agree with that. I think Chuck Schumer has gone mad. He's so petrified about the insurgent left on his side of the party, especially in New York, where Zoran Mandani is looking like he's going to romp at home. They're all scared. The resident Democrat kind of old guard who've stuffed everything up until now. And of course you're going to have, young people, young Democrat voters who are rightly angry about the mess the Democrats have made of everything. So they're taking things into their own hand. It's like a revolution inside the Democrat Party, but unfortunately, we're all suffering.
Miranda, I also wanted to ask you, just because you have excellent sources in this administration, you just sat down with JD Vance for your podcast, Pod Force One. Everyone should go check out that episode. This reporting about strikes inside of Venezuela, what kind of credibility do you put on it? What's your sense as to how imminent that may be? There's definitely a lot of military resources in the Caribbean now, which is not usually where we think of a major military presence from the U.S. side.
Yeah, look, I don't have any inside gossip on that. I'm a little cautious and a little concerned because, you know, are we being told the whole truth? You know, is this really just about stopping drugs from coming into the country, or is it some sort of soft beginning of a regime change in Venezuela? If that's the case, we should be told about it up front. And, you know, Donald Trump's got a lot on his plate. He's just come back from Asia. I suppose he'll be focusing on this again. But Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is running that operation along with Pete Hegseth when they're blowing, you know, boats and submarines out of the water. I mean, that's all great if they're all drug dealers, but what are we doing now? Is it really about stopping the cartels, or is there something else? If there's something else, great. You know, I'm all for it if it's surgical and contained. But I think we need to be told a little more than we are now, because it does sort of raise a lot of red flags.
Now, in your interview with JD, one thing that I know you talked about was the very widely watched and discussed Oval Office Zelensky, Trump, JD, verbal melee, Donnybrook, however one wants to say it. What did you learn from talking to JD about that, and how do you think this administration is seeing the Russia-Ukraine issue currently?
Yeah, well, he was sort of at pains to talk about the fact that that's in the past. You know, he said that sitting there, he felt that Zelensky had been rude to President Trump, and he felt that, you know, he wanted to make the point that if any world leader comes to the Oval Office, they owe the President of the United States an enormous amount of respect, and he didn't feel that that was happening. But he thinks that the relationship has been reset, and that while, if you asked him a couple of months ago, did he think that the prospect of peace was possible, he said he would have said no, they're just going to keep fighting, it's going to be their Vietnam. And now he's a little more optimistic. He thinks that there is a possibility that they can work it through. You know, Russia's intransigence, he said, I mean, that is certainly the case now. It's really, one minute you think you've got one side on the right page, the next minute you think you've got the other one. It's messy, it's a to and fro, but he's got faith that President Trump is going to pull it off ultimately.
Speaking of Miranda Devine, host of Pod Force One, she just interviewed JD Vance. Go check out her episode of that one wherever you listen to your podcasts. And Miranda, something else that came up. We actually have a cut from your interview, and here is this is on. It's something that Clay and I see very differently. So let's put that out there, which is UFOs. Here is JD when you asked him about this. Play 27.
Tulsi Gabbard says that she believes there are aliens. Do you believe that?
You know, I don't. It's interesting. I wouldn't say that I do or don't believe it. I mean, I'm a big believer that there are things out there that we can't explain. And so if another person sees an alien, maybe I see an angel or a demon. So I'm a big believer that there are like spiritual forces working on the physical world that a lot of us don't see and a lot of us don't understand and a lot of us don't appreciate. But, you know, is it aliens or is it our guardian angel, or is it aliens or is it a not so guardian force that doesn't care about us or in fact actively wishes us harm? I don't know the answer to that question.
Hey, interesting, because I had people writing in that they said, "Well, you should play that for us." But Miranda, this is a great opportunity. Clay's not here to defend himself. I think that there are no aliens and that this UFO stuff is all overblown nonsense. So you just agree with me, right? What do you think?
No, I don't really. I have an open mind about it. I think my feeling is just that it would be arrogant. It would be arrogant to think that we're the only intelligent life forms in the universe. So,
you're with Clay on the. Oh my God, Clay's not even here, and she's taking his side. This is so sad.
Look, I grew up reading science fiction avidly, so I love all of that. But I thought it was interesting, and as you know, he sort of did an intellectual pivot from the UFOs to the spiritual realm, and I'm totally with him on that. You know, that there are things that we cannot explain. Again, it's about humility and not being arrogant. We can't explain certain things, phenomena in the world around us, and so I do believe that there is, whether it's guardian angels or demons or whatever it is. I don't think that we can just assume that everything is just what we see in front of us. And so I thought it was interesting, and that it went to the heart of his faith, his Catholic faith. He's a convert, and he talked about going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem last week when he was visiting there, and it was so moving for him emotionally and spiritually that he said he wept. And so I thought that was a nice side of him to see.
Tell me about the relationship that you got into this with JD, the relationship between Trump and President Trump.
Yeah, well, that was interesting. He's very respectful of him, and he also said that he, because he had been a never Trumper early on, and he's changed his mind. He said, in part, he changed because he realized that President Trump was not an interventionist, was not a regime change guy, was against war. JD served in Iraq, is very against war, but he likes the peace through strength philosophy that President Trump has. And he talked about how, I said, what have you learned about President Trump that's new and that people might not know? And he said, well, he's got a very good heart. And he described how they just had him for dinner, him and the First Lady for dinner at the Vice President's residence, the Naval Observatory, and how they kept the kids upstairs. They've got 3 little kids with the babysitter because they didn't want them jumping all over the president, and the president wanted to see them. So, and the kids wanted to see him. So they came down, and like JD says, like they're little kids, they're uncontrollable, they're running around, and he said President Trump just loved it. He was so kind to them and treated them, like little human beings, and that he's very grandfatherly, and he's great with kids. And so that was interesting. And also just what we've all observed is his prodigious work ethic. The fact that Carolyn Levitt told me this as well, that on these long trips that he does on Air Force One, like when he did that whirlwind Jerusalem, Egypt trip for the peace deal, it was 30 hours in the air there and back, and President Trump didn't sleep. And everyone else was like going to sleep. And JD says, he'll come up and sort of prod various members of his cabinet who might be dozing as if they're weak and low energy, because they sleep and he doesn't. And Carolyn told me, like, he goes and it's 1 a.m. and he decided he was going to do a press gaggle. And she was like, oh, okay, I'll have to go and wake them all up. So that was quite. And the other.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
No, the other interesting thing was I met JD's beautiful dog, a German Shepherd called Atlas, and just sort of an adolescent, about 18 months, and very fit, but also incredibly well-disciplined, well-trained by him. And so I sort of made a quip about the Secret Service agents who probably have PTSD from Joe Biden's absolutely feral German Shepherds commander and major who were attacking the agents left, right, and centre, drawing blood, biting them, tearing their clothes. And JD said yes and laughed and said, yeah, well, a few of the agents have actually expressed gratitude to him that his dog, by contrast, is so well behaved. And he is. And I think it says a lot about, you can tell like German Shepherds are highly intelligent.
Huge. It's a huge indicator, Miranda. I'm a big dog person. We have a dog here. I grew up with dogs. If you give me some time with someone's dog, I know a lot about the household.
Yes.
I know about, whether there's a lot of anxiety. I know about whether there's structure. I know about whether people are kind. I mean, the dog tells you a lot about a household. So that's very interesting about JD's German Shepherd. Go check out Pod Force One. Miranda Devine, always excellent. Have a fantastic weekend.
Thanks so much, Buck, and hope Clay gets back quickly.
Yeah, me too. I'm not betting on it. I'm hoping, though, that he managed to get through. Thank you. Look, I'm doing something really exciting. Before we wrap up today, I want to tell you about it. Money and Power. I want you to subscribe to this newsletter. And this newsletter brings together my knowledge of politics with a team of researchers on the markets and on stocks. And this is designed to help ordinary people capitalize on a huge wealth explosion that I'm calling Manhattan Project 2. It's really straightforward. You watch this presentation if you want, or you can just sign up straight away. Subscribe to this, totally separate from this show. This is a separate project, a separate thing. Subscribe to Money and Power. And it's really easy. You just go to insider2025.com, insider2025.com. You'll get this delivered right into your inbox. It's got great ideas. We have a model portfolio. That portfolio, you can see it is published. It is public. See how those picks have done. It is a really, really good opportunity. Go check out insider2025.com right now. You'll save 82% off. Insider2025.com, paid for by Paradigm Press.